If it's making headlines locally or nationally, we're breaking it down. Now,
I'll take my time to South Beach.
Live from the capital of the Commonwealth, Fitz The Bill, with your host, Jack Fitzpatrick.
Left. Now Lawrence goes down, has to get up, breaks a tackle, touchdown Jacksonville.
The Jaguars hand the Chiefs their third loss of the season in an unlikely game. It was an unlikely win for the Jaguars, who at one point trailed 14-0 in the second quarter. The Jaguars with the win, yes, they move to 4-1 on the season, 31-28 final, and based on early returns, Liam Cohen, he may be the best hire of the 2025 coaching cycle, better than the likes of Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, all of those guys. And, you know, who would have thought that
Duval
would turn into 4-1 with some impressive wins already on the resume? And this was a game that gave me, personally, every thought imaginable, every intrusive thought, every non-intrusive thought. Just to put you into the mind of me throughout the day or throughout the night, you know, at one point I thought, wow, the Chiefs may not lose again. This was after they were up 14-0. I thought, man, shame that the Jaguars are actually frauds. That was when they were down 14-0, and Trevor Lawrence at one point took a sack, then there was an offensive line penalty, and then you know what happened from there? In the second quarter, it was a Kansas City penalty on 3rd and 15. It gave the Jaguars a first down. And from there, that was really all the life they needed. They went down to score on that drive, made it 14-7 going into halftime, a touchdown coming out of the halftime break to tie it up. And then Patrick Mahomes threw this.
On second down, picked off, Lloyd again. Devin Lloyd, what a year, still rolling, down the sideline, one man to beat, Lloyd, pick six.
That pick six gave the Jaguars a 21-14 edge. They were able to maneuver that to an eventual 31-28 win. The game was a perfect encapsulation of the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence this season. And I mean, maybe more so the Trevor Lawrence experience so far. But, I mean, right when you were about to abandon all hope, they pull you right on back in. And this Jaguars team under new head coach Liam Cohen is showing something that past Jaguars teams, whether it was under Doug Peterson or Urban Meyer, those teams didn't have. Liam Cohen has brought them resiliency. And that is a word that he used in his post-game press conference for good reason. They overcame a 14-0 deficit. And typically when the Chiefs have a 14-0 deficit on you, guess what you don't do? You don't win that game. But Liam Cohen, he talked about resiliency yesterday in his post-game press conference.
It wasn't perfect by any means, but the resiliency is really what I think this team has and has continued to show. There was really no flinch or blink when you're down 14-0. I think early on we might have had a little bit of bright eyes and in a kind of big game that you can understand a little bit in some ways. But got down early, made an effort to come back. The guys stuck with it at halftime. Devin Lloyd shows up again with a huge play. Really took all three phases. I thought all three phases really impacted the game. A ton of stuff to correct, but the toughness and resiliency is really something I'm proud of.
And Lawrence's touchdown that you heard to start the show to win the game with under 30 seconds left was exactly that. What quarterback in this league slips in the fashion that he did, gets back up, runs it in for the game-winning touchdown? It was resilient, and it was really the ultimate Jaguars experience, the ultimate Trevor Lawrence experience. He slips, I'm out. I'm out on Trevor Lawrence. I'm over it. He's a bust. He gets up, runs it in for the game-winning touchdown. I'm right back into it. I'm pulling for Trevor Lawrence. I knew he would be an elite-level quarterback. We saw something, too, on that play that has been beginning to creep into this end-of-an-era Chiefs team. They're sitting at 2-3 now, and a couple of tough losses here to begin the season. And what we have seen a lot of in 2025 that we haven't seen in previous years is a lack of effort. And on that last play, we saw that lack of effort from Chris Jones, their star defensive tackle. The ball snapped. He doesn't really go into the defensive line. He just kind of moseys on around, doesn't push the pocket. He doesn't see Lawrence slip and fall and attack that. And when Lawrence gets up and runs around the edge, he doesn't try to chase him down. He's just kind of standing there. And that lack of effort has been popping up more and more with the older era Chiefs, outside of Mahomes, of course. We've seen Travis Kelce do the same at times this season. And that has to fall back on the fact that the Chiefs built last season up so much. It was a chance to three-peat. You get one win away from reaching the ultimate pinnacle of the sport. And what happens? You don't just lose. You get blown out in the Super Bowl. And that has to destroy the mental makeup of 99.9% of players. And now, early on in 2025, at 2-3, we are seeing the first ever Super Bowl hangover for the Kansas City Chiefs. They didn't have it after their first one in that three-peat of making it to the Super Bowl. They didn't have it after their second win. And now they're having it after their third appearance, first loss of this little mini era that we've been in with Kansas City. It's like the Chiefs are now in their 30s after a decade of going out with friends, enjoying all types of libations until the wee hours of the morning. You wake up, you're completely fine. The Chiefs rolled over in bed this year, now in their 30s, after a night trying to recreate the 20s night out, and they're feeling the effects of it for the first time in their lives. They're feeling the hangover. It's a tough feeling, and the Chiefs may need a greasy burger. They maybe need a little hair of the dog to get them back on the horse. I don't know what they're going to need to get here, but at 2-3, they don't look like the Chiefs of old. And they show flashes of being the Chiefs of old. The early on success going up 14-0. Patrick Mahomes threw for 318 yards. They look solid, but they just don't have a complete team effort, time in and time out. And it resulted in them blowing that 14-0 lead and falling 31-28 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who now move to 4-1 on the season.
Welcome back in. Fitz the Bill rolling right along on this Tuesday morning. I'm Jack Fitzpatrick, Allen alongside. As we are joined now by Ben Solak, an NFL analyst for ESPN, hence the NFL Primetime Music. Good morning, Ben. How are you doing on this Tuesday?
I'm well, Jack. How you been?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. I do want to get this just right out of the way. I feel like being here in Richmond, Virginia, Washington Commanders, all of that great stuff, the hype of Jaden Daniels. Just got to get this question right out of the way. What are your thoughts on Jaden Daniels heading into his sophomore season? Do you think a slump is coming for him?
I think, yes and no. A lot of let's call spade a spade. It was one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen. When you have one of the best rookie quarterback seasons we've ever seen, you should expect a sophomore slump just by the rules of statistical regression, right? If Jaden Daniels were in his fifth year, his sixth year, his ninth year, and he had an 84% conversion rate on fourth down, which is what the Commanders' offense had last year, if he had the third best season of a scrambler by EPA gained, which is what he had last year, I would tell you, hey, next year, he's probably going to regress a little bit. He had a 90th percentile, 95th percentile. He had a peak season. That's probably just going to come down inherently because of the laws of numbers. You fold in the fact that he does have that rookie moment, right? Okay, now he's going to have year two. A lot of NFC teams are going to be watching a lot more film on Cliff Kingsbury, a lot more film on the Commanders and Jaden Daniels than they were coming into the season. You fold in the reality of being a rookie and what's going to change for him, and it does make a slump feel a little bit more likely. I would be stunned if we have a season where we're like, oh, I'm worried about Jaden Daniels' talent. Can he hang in the NFL? Like, he very obviously cleared that bar. It just might be a little bit statistically worse because defenses are catching up, because numbers are regressing. He's still going to be, what the Commanders expect him to be, which is a guy who looks like the franchise quarterback for a long time.
Ben, I got to say thank you because you used EPA in that argument. And here at the station, I'm the only one that uses EPA, and it requires a deep breakdown every time I say it. So I do appreciate you speaking the language of expected points added. That is greatly appreciated on this Tuesday morning.
It's a good stat. Gotta use it.
It's the best. Some would argue the best stat out there. I do want to know also as well, NFC East, the Eagles are the talk of the town, the talk of the NFL after winning the Super Bowl. But there hasn't been a repeat NFC East champion, and I know it's the storyline we're going to talk about each week going from now until the end of the NFL season. But there hasn't been a repeat NFC East champion since the 2003-2004 season, I believe, when the Eagles did it. So not only do they have the pieces to repeat as Super Bowl champions, but do they have the pieces to do arguably the harder thing, which is repeat as the NFC East champions?
I think so. I think they're going to be favored going into the year, small favorite over Washington. I think that's appropriate. Eagles lost a ton of snaps on defense, over 3,000 snaps, with Milton Williams out the building, Josh Sweat out the building, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson out the building, Darius Slay out the building. They have a lot to handle on that side of the ball. But if you look at their talent and the Vic Fangio aspect as a defensive coordinator, it still holds up pretty well. It's still reasonable to expect the Eagles to have a top 10-ish defense. I am concerned with Washington's, the thinness in the pass rush right now, some of the changes along the defensive front. Obviously, they're expecting maybe some better plays. Marshawn Lattimore there at outside corner, Trey Amos, who's a second-round rookie. Like they're going to need someone to step up there. And so there's still a lot of Washington's defense that leaves me with some question marks. And then you're going to have an offensive line shuffling there in Washington as well, right? Sam Cosmi's going to miss the beginning of the season. And so Alec Grady, he's going to left side. He's going to move to the right side so Brandon Coleman can play left. Is Connor going to win the right tackle job? Like, there's going to be a lot of balls in the air for them to figure out. And offensive line shuffling, I think, was good and necessary for Washington. But it can come with growing pains, right? It can come with uncertainty. It can come with easy mistakes and blown assignments that lead to some missed games early in the season. And so I think Eagles will still be the small favorite and deservedly so. But we know, NFC East, it's a difficult division in which to repeat.
So you mentioned the thinness at the edge rusher position for Washington, and a name a lot of Commanders fans always link over is Trey Hendrickson. Where do you think Trey Hendrickson will end up playing week one of this NFL season?
Man, if I had to bet, the most likely thing is the Bengals. The most likely outcome is he stays in Cincinnati and they figure something out. However, I think the outcome that is more likely than the public realizes right now is that he's not playing anywhere in week one because he's holding out. I could very easily see the Bengals drawing this out for a long time, and I can see Henderson drawing this out for a long time. We haven't really seen a hold-out contract dispute, whatever, trade negotiation, whatever you want to call this. We haven't really seen one precisely like this Henderson deal in Cincinnati, where we are going on nearly, over 12 months, nearly 18 months of, hey, I'm frustrated with my contract. Hey, I want to get out of here. Hey, I want a big extension. To the point now that, we've skipped the I'm not coming to mandatory minicamp stage, and we've gotten to the I'm now going to mandatory minicamp to get in front of microphones on your home turf Cincinnati to talk about how disrespected I feel. And a lot of times when it's a veteran player and he's frustrated with the contract situation and he's getting in front of a microphone and he's criticizing the team, you get the sense that the rest of the locker room is trying to stay away from it and just kind of let Trey figure out his business. The Cincinnati players are pretty clearly like, you guys got to pay Trey. This is our guy. This is the ultimate dude on defense. So they've got Cincinnati in a little bit of a tough corner, and Cincinnati's got their hackles up. They got their teeth out, and they don't want to give an inch. So there's a lot of worlds where this turns very nasty for quite some time. And so I would still guess Cincinnati is where he's playing in week one. But there is a chance that he's playing in Cincinnati in week one in the sense that he's on the sideline wearing street clothes, but he ain't actually, going to go into the game, and that won't happen until something moves contract-wise or trade-wise.
Ben Solak, an NFL analyst for ESPN, joining us on this Tuesday morning. Another feels like kind of, maybe we haven't gotten into the unprecedented waters just yet, but they may not have Shamar Stewart, their first-round draft pick as well. Is this something that you think can bleed over into the season as well? Does this not get done, or are we still in the kind of peacocking stage between the two?
I would strongly expect this to get done before the season because unlike the Trey Hendrickson thing, which is legitimately millions of dollars in the balance, do we extend the guy who's 31 years old? Do we give him a $35 million deal, commensurate with the top edge rushers? The Shamar Stewart thing is over peanuts, and it's ridiculous that it's gotten this far for both sides. If you're Shamar Stewart, what are you going to do? You're going to take this to the 2026 NFL draft and renegotiate your rights? That feels extremely preposterous. If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, what are you going to do? Are you going to make your first-round rookie who needs NFL experience hold out in August. Like, that feels ridiculous. So we've already reached kind of a point of, I can't believe it has gotten this far with Stewart and with the Bengals. The contract language over which they are, discussing and debating and struggling to find a common ground is a lot lower impact than Trey Henderson extension. It doesn't even really change what the money's going to look like. It's just the Bengals trying to reimagine how they go about doing some of these deals, and I imagine this gets solved before training camp, begins in the end of July. You can never say never with the Bengals, but that'd be my expectation.
So as we continue to kind of move, starting in the east, moving out west, a jump here from Cincinnati all the way to San Francisco. 49ers last season, they were destroyed. I mean, just obliterated by injuries. Maybe at a rate that I personally don't recall a rate of injuries like the 49ers suffered through last year. Are they poised for a bounce-back season? Are they poised for one of those last-to-first types of jumps and we blink and all of a sudden they're back in the NFC Championship game?
Potentially. I think that independent of the injuries that the 49ers were endured last season, which were, as you say, quite prolific, they were always approaching our rookie contract is now hitting a second contract and we have to reload the cap a little bit year. Like, that was always coming for the 49ers. So let's say they had quite a healthy season last season, made it to the divisional round, lost to the Commanders, yada, yada, whatever. They would have had this offseason where they lost Dre Greenlaw in free agency, and they lost Talanoa Hufanga in free agency, and they lost Tarvarius Ward in free agency, and they lost Aaron Banks in free agency. And they're putting a lot of young guys in positions where they need them to play 60, 70, 800 snaps, right? Deebo Samuel's traded to Washington. Now we need Ricky Pearsall to step up. And we would say, listen, this team can be quite good to get Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, Nick Bosa, like Christian McCaffrey. The fundamental pieces are still there. But there's a lot more uncertainty throughout the second tier and the third tier of this roster than we're used to seeing for a contending team. So they need a lot to hit right. There's a lot of risks they're taking in the interior of that offensive line, let alone the hope that Trent Williams is going to give them 17 good, healthy games. There's a lot of risks they're taking in that secondary and their defensive back seven, playing third-round picks, fourth-round picks, hoping that Robert Saleh can get that defense schematically right relative to where it was last season. There are gambles that a team working in the margins, now they have a big, fat second contract for a quarterback. There are gambles that you have to make, and they're making. And so it's possible, but it's not as straightforward as we were really hurt last year. Hopefully we're healthier this season, and let's go, because they've endured a lot of personnel turnover.
Ben Solak, NFL analyst for ESPN, joining us this Tuesday morning. I saw your tweet, I think it was yesterday, about the Rams' explosive run rate. And This is a personal question for me because as a Kyren Williams running back fantasy dynasty owner, I'd love to see that explosive run rate increase for Williams and him get even more fantasy football points. But how can they generate more? And I guess also kind of a dual-pronged question. How are they such a solid offense despite not generating a ton of explosives in the run game?
Yeah, so they were an odd team last year, right? They pretty much won the lowest explosive run rate in football despite having a pretty average success rate. So in general, they're grinding out the 4 yards you need to make the turn of first and 10 into a second and 6 to stay ahead of the sticks, but they're never picking up more than that. And when we see a low explosive run rate, we pretty typically put a lot of the onus, a lot of the responsibility there on the running back. Sometimes you can be wrong, and schematically they're not built for hitting explosive runs. But in the case of the Rams, Kyren is just not a very good tackle breaker at the second and the third level. He's very good at the first level because he's tough. He runs behind his pads. He's low. He keeps his nose down. He'll survive that contact. He'll fall forward. But he's just not going to break guys down in space. He's not going to run away from people. And I think the Rams understand that while they're so good in the passing game, and they're so good at creating explosives there, that they can get away with that. And that's why they have a starter in Kyren Williams, who was a seventh-round pick for them. That's why they're having contract extensions with him. You also saw them in the third round of last year's draft take Blake Corum out of Michigan, and in the fourth year of this year's draft take Jarquez Hunter out of Auburn. I don't think they want to live in a world where Kyren Williams gets 20 touches a game. There's no running back by committee, and there's no ability to hit explosive plays. Just if you think about it from a touches perspective, the Rams don't want to be a team where, okay, Puka Nacua gets 10 touches a game, Devontae Adams going to get 8 touches a game, but Kyren Williams is going to get twice as many, because Kyren Williams just does not create big plays the way those other guys do. So you want to change those numbers, change those calculus a little bit, and find younger, faster guys with more juice players who can actually create those bigger plays for you that isn't Kyron Williams. So I think you're going to see them continue to experiment with more running back by committee and see if they can find an aspect of their running game that allows them to rip off some bigger chunks. It'll make an offense that's already quite dangerous just a little bit more so.
Another piece with the Rams that might make them even a little bit more dangerous, bringing in Davante Adams this offseason.
Yep.
How important is that for Sean McVay and the Rams?
I think that we're going to see the best Rams passing game we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years with Davante Adams there. Plain and simple, even when Puka, so you had Cooper Kupp 2021 Triple Crown season, right? And that was, hey, it's Kupp, and we have enough ancillary pieces that we can maximize Kupp, but also that was the beginning of this new look Sean McVay offense with Matthew Stafford out there, and defenses were still catching up. Then you have the dawn of Puka Nacua, and Puka and Kupp playing together was an unbelievable thing to watch. It was very cool. But also, a tricky thing about it was that McVay kind of had two similar style receivers, right? It was their size over the middle of the field and their ability to make tough catches. It was how well they got quickly in and out of the route breaks despite their size. It was guys who were good short to intermediate. They were good off of motion. They were good, against zone, linebackers, nickel corners, safeties. And McVay's ability to not have a diverse group of receivers, but really have a redundant group of receivers and still find a way to maximize both of them, it was sublime. I mean, that's so hard to do. And you can count on one hand the amount of guys in the NFL you would trust to do it. And McVay did it with aplomb. Stafford was incredible. Okay, great. Kupp, over the last 2 seasons, has been athletically declining. Right? You've been able to see that. He's taken so many hits. He had so much high usage in 2021. The tracking data has him slower off the line of scrimmage. He's not breaking tackles the way that he used to. He's not running away from guys in the third level the way that he used to. Such that even when the numbers for the offense are really good, you could tell, all right, Puka's the guy who scares us when he's on the field. Right? Puka's been dealing with some injury. And if Kupp has to be the high-volume guy, he just can't kill us the way he used to kill us because he can't beat us in the third level the way that he used to. He can't run away from our coverage the way that he used to. Davante Adams, who obviously is older and has been around for a while, you go put on some Davante Adams film, man. Davante still right now today is better at beating one-on-one coverage against elite pressman corners on the outside than Cooper Kupp really kind of ever was with the Rams. And his skill set is a lot different than the skill set that Puka Nacua brings. You're going to see Nacua fall more into that Cup 2021 role where he's going to have games, 17 targets, 13 catches, 104 yards, right? Where he's like an extension of the running game. And then you're going to see 2nd and 9s and 3rd and 10s where Davante's one-on-one winning ability is something we haven't seen in Los Angeles for the last couple of years. I think that Stafford's going to throw for almost like 5,000 yards. I think it's going to be just lights out bananas passing game in Los Angeles. And then again, if they get that running game right, we're cooking with high grease.
I'm excited for that. As a Seahawks fan, it pains me to say this, but I'm excited to watch the Rams this season. They are.
Yep, it's going to be good.
They're going to be fun. Ben, thank you so much for taking some time out of your Tuesday morning to chat some NFL with us. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
There goes Benjamin Solak, NFL analyst at ESPN. You can follow him on Twitter at Benjamin Solak. He's got great stuff all the time. You can also catch him on ESPN as well as he's given the insights and breaking it down using EPA, probably the best stat known to man, expected points added. Everyone knows it. Everyone loves it. If you don't know it, if you don't love it, get with the program because it's the best stat in all of sports. I think Alan agrees with that too.
That's a pretty good measuring tool for other things, yes.
but he's high on the Rams. The Rams, though?
I'm high on the Rams. The Rams are they've drafted the best over the last 2 years given their placement. And they get the most out of their players. McVay is one of the best coaches in the league.
I would argue he's much better than Mike Tomlin.
We're not going back through that again. I'm not going back through that again.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think Sean McVay is a top 2 coach in the NFL right now, behind Andy Reid. All right, let's get our last break in here. I cracked myself up. All right, we'll get our last break in. We'll step aside. Be back to wrap up this Tuesday edition of Fitz the Bill right here on 106.1 ESPN.
News.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Or snooze.
All right, number 1. Per sources, and this is from Ollie Conley, who he's the publisher of the Read Optional newsletter. Per sources, Bill Belichick has discussed buyout options with North Carolina's hierarchy. Belichick has signaled a willingness to trigger his own $1 million buyout if he can find a soft landing with another team or in media. This is so...
Extra, extra, read all about it.
And let me get something off my chest here right quick. brother, if you're thinking about triggering your own $1 million buyout with the amount of money you have made in your career at the NFL level, give these kids an opportunity and just trigger your own $1 million buyout and go off into the ether. Go off and do your own thing. You didn't take this seriously from the very start. You didn't take this seriously at ACC kickoff when you refused to do Radio Row because you thought that was beneath you. Breaking news, it wasn't beneath any other coach in the Atlantic Coast Conference. It's not underneath any coach in the Southeastern Conference where it just means more. It's not underneath any coach in the Big Ten. But for Bill Belichick, he was too good for Radio Row. He wanted his own special way of doing the media scrums. He held his own local media only availability that was announced just a couple of hours, couple of minutes really, before it was happening in one of the meeting rooms in the Hilton down there in Charlotte. Bill Belichick has not taken this seriously from the second he stepped foot in Chapel Hill. Let's be honest. He thought that this was going to be easy. He thought that this was going to be a walk in the park. He thought he could bring all of his friends in and they could just run rampant around the college football world. Breaking news, Bill, it's a lot harder than that. And if you are thinking about triggering your own $1 million buyout, if you can find a soft landing with another team, just do it. Just pay yourself out of it. Just leave. Just quit. Get out of there, man. You are doing every single one of these kids who you brought in over the 60-plus transfers you brought in an absolute disservice by doing this to them. Ollie Conley went on in a pretty long Twitter thread to say members of Bill Belichick's coaching staff have already spoken to other schools that are expected to be in the college football playoff. There are reports of serious recruiting violations which remain under investigation at UNC. Recruiting and practice violations have already been proven by the school, according to multiple sources. Belichick's communication with his staff in the past 2 weeks have been described as weird and distant. And one defensive assistant, he said that what we've done to these kids is up. Come on, man. It makes my blood boil. Like, you are doing such a disservice. And we knew from the jump that this wasn't going to be real. We knew from the jump that this was going to be an absolute joke because he didn't take anything seriously. He thought that this was going to be a walk in the park. UNC, the football program, put out this statement. Actually, this came from their main athletics Twitter account. Came out at 9:36 p.m. last night. It's already been viewed 2.9 million times in less than 12 hours. Bill Belichick's statement. I'm fully committed to UNC football and the program we're building here. Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director, said, quote, Coach Belichick has the full support of the Department of Athletics and University. Look, if we're getting into reading things in too much here, that quote from Bubba Cunningham doesn't seem like he thinks that Bill Belichick is necessarily the answer, which makes sense. Bubba Cunningham didn't really have a hand in hiring him. It was forced by the Board of Visitors and the chancellor of the school, thinking it would be cool to get the media buzz around Bill Belichick coming to coach. And so Bubba Cunningham was kind of strong-armed into doing it. But that quote, Coach Belichick has the full support of the Department of Athletics and University. Has the full support, not in coaching the team. They don't explicitly say that. He just has the full support. And if that support goes to him leaving the program, I think Bubba Cunningham would happily welcome that. But all of this is just an absolute dumpster fire, and it's a joke. And I feel so bad for the kids who were promised so much, and it just did not happen. Bill Belichick really thought he was going to come in to this program, a program that has not won an ACC championship, I don't think ever, and turn it around immediately and be the best team in the NFL. Instead, it has gone up in flames, I think, quicker than even I. I was not high on Bill Belichick. I was not high on UNC. I thought this experiment was going to fail after seeing what he did at ACC kickoff. It's failed faster than I thought it would. It has failed faster than I thought it would. UNC so far this season, 2-3. Things aren't looking too hot. Coming off of that 28-point loss over the weekend to Clemson. And it's not going to get much easier. You go across the country to play Cal on Friday night. Next Friday, you have the bye week this week to kind of lick your wounds. But this isn't the distractions you want around the team off of a bye week. And then you've got UVA the following week at home. You've got Syracuse on the road. Stanford and Wake, you might be able to get a couple 2 wins, but I don't know if UNC is better than Stanford and Wake at this point. But according to sources, Bill Belichick thinking about trying to find his way out of UNC, and we're just about halfway through the season. Ain't that something? That's newsworthy.
Welcome in hour number 2 of Fitz the Bill right here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond. I'm Jack Fitzpatrick, Alan alongside, and we've got a loaded studio. We've been doing this show for about 9 months now. I think the most we've ever had in studio was maybe 3 people at one point. I think we've got 8 here today, but it's a worthy cause because Varina coming off of a dominant win in the Class 4 state championship over Loudoun County, a fantastic season going 13-2. Coach Lewis is joining us from Varina, as well as Sair Rex, Caleb Weich, Coach Fitz, Braylon Hood, Coach Puka, Tim Harris, Jaden Baskerville, Bull Richardson. I wrote those down for a reason, so we got them all. Guys, thank you all so much for taking some time out of your Friday before winter break, I imagine, as well, and coming in to chat with us. Coach, I want to start with you. I mean, a Class 4 state championship win. You guys did it in a dominant way. What's been the feeling now? We're about a week out from the win. How has it kind of settled in, and how have you guys kind of celebrated the win?
It's been a great feeling. Kind of bittersweet. You know what I mean? We losing some of the guys that have been with me for 4 years. This is my first group of 4 years. But it's just a beautiful feeling being able to finish. We said last year that we wanted to get back here. We did it. And we did it at like you said, we dominated. So I think Region 4 just helped us, as far as being prepared for the playoffs, and along with our schedule as well.
I want to go over here to Bull Richardson, UVA commit, kind of the defensive line guy. I mean, the whole defense was fantastic. But Bull, I want to start with you. You guys, I think, outgained Loudoun County, correct me if I'm wrong, coaches, by 500 yards?
Yeah, that's about right. I think they only had 57.
Yeah, so the defense was fantastic. And I want to start with you, Bull. What did you guys do in that game against Loudoun County that allowed you to not let Loudoun get more than 100 rushing or yards, just a period?
Man, all week, the coach was telling us about the Clemson commit that they had. So we always motivated to go out there and stop the run. And we knew if we did that, then the game over with.
It was game over with, I think, from the initial snap. I mean, it was an impressive performance. I want to go to the offensive side of the ball real quick and start with Coach Puka here because, correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, first year as the OC at Varina, and you guys had tremendous growth throughout the season, and it culminates in that win against Loudoun County. What was the growth that you saw from your team this entire season offensively?
Just gelling and getting a grasp of my system. Like I told Marcus coming into this season, after watching film and attending some games last year, it wasn't much to fix. It was like small things. So just bringing in, my experience of 36 years of coaching, just giving Caleb a little heads up on things that he can alert to help him become a better quarterback. And just watching it come together, it took some time. At the beginning, it was a lot of people talking about what I needed to do, and we weren't throwing enough. But they didn't understand that these guys were learning an entire new system, getting coached differently. I'm an old school guy, so I coach a little different. So it was great to see it all come together. I think that Grimsley game, that's the game where I felt really good. Even though we lost, I was coming back home on the trip driving, just reflecting on the game, and I knew we wouldn't lose again. Put it that way. Leaving that game, I knew we would not lose again.
I mean, that 9 straight to finish out the season? You guys didn't lose again, and I think all season you allowed defensively just one team to score more than 20. Jefferson Forest, was it, in the state semis? An impressive performance from start to finish. Caleb, working with Coach Puka, year 1 with him, how'd you see your game grow under him?
I've seen it grow a lot coming from the Moore game when I had a bad game. After that, he just told me, don't put my head down, keep working. And at practice, he showed me a lot.
I mean, if you had a bad game, you still guys almost won. I mean, you could argue you probably should have won that Moore game, depending on how that final call goes. So for you, Caleb, I know you left the game injured a little bit, but it kind of felt like job finished. The job was done. What was the feeling on the sideline as you were watching the guys finish it out?
It felt great watching the guys finish it out. The backup quarterback, he came in last year for me, and this year he did great, a touchdown, and seeing the defense still give up no points.
Sair, All-State DB, I mean, that defensive line in front of you, though, I think sometimes maybe made your job a little easy, specifically in the state championship. What's it like playing on a defense that's so dominant up front?
Playing on a defense like that is like we really know as DBs, we probably not gonna have to cover for that long, just based off the simple fact that they're gonna get to him, they're gonna get to the quarterback so fast. So it slow the game down for the back seven for sure.
And Braylon, you committed to Furman, right?
Yes, sir.
You're committed to Furman. You finished out your senior year with a state title, kind of the focal point of the defense as well. Sure. What did it feel lifting the trophy your senior year and knowing that that's how you're going to finish out your high school career?
It felt amazing knowing that this would be my last high school game. We finishing off with our brothers winning. Like I said, I love to be a part of a winning culture. So it just was an amazing feeling, man. Winning it all with my brothers, know it was for a bigger cause. My pops, everything we went through this season, all the adversity we faced, it just felt good, like winning. So
that's awesome, Coach Fitz. First, I got to say, fantastic last name. Although it's a Fitzgerald, there's a little animosity there as a Fitzpatrick. I get mistaken for a Fitzgerald often. But what was the key to the success for you guys this season?
We just wanted to maximize our product and just be who we were. Regardless of what nobody else had going on, our motto always was us against us. It's either, Varina going to beat Varina or Varina going to beat the opponent. So we just wanted to give our players the best, trying to develop them. So as they go on to college or just go on to the rest of their life as men, try to help developing them for the real world and for the next phase of life. And just be dominant in everything that we do, all three phases of the game, win every down, win in school, win in the community, win in life, and just try to breed winners.
Tim, I want to move over to here. I feel like I'm kind of like holding the court, going back and forth. Over here. Hey, man, we got 8 people. Now I know we can have 8 people. We can have more people in here. We got a whole front of the studio empty. But Tim, from your perspective, how did you guys, just not in the Loudoun County game, but the entire playoff run where you guys were dominant each and every game, starts with Dinwiddie, where you shut them out, and then from there you just kind of build on it. What was the key to the success throughout the entire playoff run?
I think the key to success was, mainly throughout the whole season, in the off season. These boys was built for this moment. They took every day like it was their last, so I commend them on that. Also, I want to give Coach Marcus his props, getting his coaching staff together and just how authentic he is as far as, getting these kids ready for college and ready for the next level and making sure these kids know that they can do it, I'm a testimony to that. I wore the blue and gold. I made it to UVA, ended up getting drafted. So my piece, coming in, just showing these boys that they can do it, and it shouldn't matter, where you go to school at, D1, D2, D3. Like you could make it to the next level. And I think Coach Marcus do a great job as far as this coaching staff getting them together and just teaching these boys like outside of football, like it's gonna be an end date to this. Teaching them, financial literacy, teaching them about stocks, teaching them about different stuff. It's going to help them in the long run. So commend the whole coaching staff and the players for buying into what we got going on. And I can't wait to see what happens moving forward.
So you played at UVA. You got 2 UVA commits on this roster now. How much did you play into that? Were you in Bulls here? Were you in
They was kind of locked in before I even knew, So, it's cool, to plant little seeds with them and let them know what's going to happen at the next level and getting them ready for the next level. And, it's happy for them. I'm happy for them to, leave out with a state championship, and just can't wait to see these boys moving forward.
That's awesome. Jaden Baskerville as well, another key player to the entire run. Kind of same question to you. What was it from a player perspective making that run through the playoffs where you guys were, it seemed like, just a dominant force throughout?
Through the playoffs, it was just about being a leader. If I led my line and how it was supposed to be, it was going to be a breeze, and it was a breeze.
You make it sound so easy. If I was out there, it would not be that simple. Coach Lewis, I want to go back to you with it, and kind of a similar question where you guys came into the season and the goal was state title after dropping to Phoebus last year in the state title game. And you test yourself, Maury, Grimsley early on, drop those games, but then it felt like those were teaching moments for the team to then rattle off 9 straight and have one of the more dominant playoff runs we've seen, all of which, except for the state semi on the road, going to Dinwiddie, at Huguenot, 2 tough places to play. What was the message to the team when you guys began that playoff run, knowing that a lot of this is going to have to be done on the road?
I feel like we played better on the road, to be honest with you. So we didn't care where we had to go. Like Coach Tim said, it was us against us. So we knew we had to fix the little things. We had to go back and look at the Moore games, the Grimsley game, even some of the games like even Hermitage, it was closer to the second half, to where the things that we could fix, that's what we worked on. We pretty much do the same thing every practice. And we started competing. Third downs, we went, 3 for 3, 2-minute drills. So the kids loved that. So the energy was there. I feel like our practice was harder than games at times, and that's what you want. You want to create that culture. So when it came to a Friday or Saturday or whenever we played, we was ready and we was prepared. Of course, like Hood was saying, we had a lot of stuff outside of football to where our kids just locked in. It's a family. It's truly a family, and we truly love each other. And you just saw that when you go back and look at the pictures throughout each game and the state championship. That's the stuff I'm going to miss the most. We just came together at the right time. We started peaking at the right time from an offense perspective. I felt like defense was definitely rolling. We gave up 2 bombs in the 2 games that we lost. We had Johan come in and stepped up, number 14 for us, to where we had to sit him out a couple of games. Did some things that we had to get him right. Everything happened for a reason, and I feel like everything, like I said, just came together at the right time.
Braylon, when you guys are winning these games, you're on a 9-game win streak, right? And none of the games were particularly all that close. Was it ever boring on the defensive side?
I wouldn't say boring. I just know as the team, we always bring our own energy. That's one thing Coach Robbie says. So when we bring our own energy, I feel like we all good on the same page. So.
Coach Puka, there was a hook and ladder called in the state championship game. Can we talk about that play real quick? What was the thought process in deciding to run a very fun play to watch, but I imagine a little nervous play to call on the sideline?
Well, to be honest with you, the first play before that should have been a touchdown. We had a double pass call, but I told them in the huddle, I called 2 plays, said if we don't complete the double pass, we back on the ball and we run in the hook and ladder. We've been working on that for about 4 or 5 weeks, just making sure it's crisp and it's smooth. And Shamondre made an excellent catch and toss on that. Caleb gave a nice throw, and Trey Rogers tried to take it to the house. It's actually another pitch off of that, but Trey was running so fast.
So it's a hook and ladder?
It's a hook and ladder option. So Trey was running so fast that we had a freshman, Roy couldn't catch up with him. Yeah. Trey was running so fast. But it executed. They executed, and we got down inside the 20, and we scored again before halftime.
What inspires that play call? Like when you're at home drawing up this play, what makes you go, I want to do a hook and ladder, and I want to do an option off of this?
To be honest with you, it's a play Boise State ran years ago in the I think it was the Tostitos Bowl, and they beat Oklahoma. So I've been doing it for a while, and I got a lot of stuff. I'm kind of a madman when it comes to plays. I got papers everywhere, but the kids grasped it, man, and they executed it at the right time. And I knew we would need it. That's why I kept practicing it, but they did a great job running it. So.
Caleb, running an offensive system where there is a hook and ladder option, you've got a quote-unquote madman as your offensive coordinator. What's it like as you as the quarterback to be the signal caller for that?
I feel good. The only thing is on that play, you just got to make sure there's no safety coming down and make sure he open and throw it at the right time so he can flick it to Trey.
When he didn't get the option off, where you're like, man, I wanted to see the next step of it.
I did. If he would have did that, we would have scored. But it's all good. We still scored before the half.
And Coach Fitz, are you the defensive coordinator?
No, Coach Marcus is the defensive coordinator. Yeah, I'm Coach Safeties and Special Teams coordinator.
Okay, so with special teams and the safeties, when you got an offense and a defense that is so dominant the way it is, how do you go about coordinating the special teams and making sure that you guys, because we were watching this as a Seahawks fan, right? I was watching the Seahawks game last night. You could argue the special teams won them that game with their punt return touchdown. Special teams can also lose a game for somebody. With you've got 2 of the most dominant units in the offense and the defense. How do you make sure the special teams kind of is on that same plane?
Well, we say every day, we win special teams, we win the game. Like, it's very cut and simple for us. We get our reps in, the kids are locked in. We're very sound in what we do, so it's simple, but I'm aggressive with special teams. Sometimes Coach Marcus tell me like, hold on, don't do that, you know. So, but I enjoy trying to make the game fun for the kids, putting the guys in position to make plays, and then you know special teams can change the dynamic of a game that fast. So our kids understand that. So I lean all the way into it and try to keep us sound in what we do, but also try to bring an element of excitement to the game that's going to get us momentum and just put us in a position to win games, be dominant, and have fun.
I, for one, want to see more aggressiveness on special teams. So you cannot listen to Coach Lewis and just try do pump block, do all the maybe a hook and ladder on a return play could be a lot of fun. I'm just throwing ideas out there. But with that, Coach Lewis, was there a point in the state championship game where he was trying to be a little aggressive that you had to call up the dogs?
It definitely was. Right before you started third, he's like, onside. I'm like, no. I was like, let the defense go. Let's play field position because we was doing an amazing job. We may would have got it. But our special teams, man, is like an offense. I ain't going to lie. Sometimes we be looking at the clock, but I'm like, you know what, y'all? They always show up when we need them. So, like you said, we take pride in special teams. When I was in high school, we lost on special teams. So the kids know I hop on that. The coaching staff knows. So we really, take pride in our special teams.
Coach Fitz, there was the Highland Springs play with the special teams, right, where it was the pass out of the punt formation that got called back. Didn't you have a couple of those this year where you were going pretty high aggression with what punt passes?
Yeah, well, like Coach Marcus said, we got about probably 10 to 12 fakes off our punt.
What?
About 10 to 12 fakes.
Like
off,
different fakes?
Yes, different ones, yeah. And our guys know it.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
Braylon, he's the captain of our team and our special team. So, like, oftentimes, I don't even call it from the sideline. We talk about during the week, if we get this look, this is what we like. If we get another look, we like this. And once he see the look, he got the green light to call it when he see it. So the kids execute. The kids understand. They're not just calling fakes just to call fakes. They know when to do it at the right time, and our success rate is pretty high.
See, now I know why I'm on this side of the mic doing it, because if I had that responsibility, Braylon, I would just be, let's just run fakes. Like, what's the worst that can happen? We got such a good defense, we can put them backs against the wall. I'd just be running fakes all the time.
One crazy one game, it was 4th and 32.
Yeah, 4th and 32.
And we went for a fake, and we got 42 yards on the fake punt. 4th and 32. That was kind of cool though.
Yeah, I bet it was. A 3rd and 32, and you convert it on, or 4th and 32, and you convert the dang thing. I mean, yeah, that's really impressive. I want to go around and kind of ask you guys from the player perspective what you guys have coming next, what your expectations are. I know Caleb Jr. Sire, are you a junior as well? Yes, so going into next year, how do you take this and use it as momentum for 2026?
I feel like that year the 2024 year that we lost, that was my sophomore year. I feel like I needed that because now I feel like I know how I feel to lose and I know how I feel to win. So I'm going to do everything to bring me and my brothers, this new group of brothers that I got, I'm going to bring us together so we could definitely be on the winning side again this year.
Caleb, for you, using this season, you year one with Coach Puka, how do you use that as a springboard going into your senior year?
Just keep growing, getting in the weight room, changing my body, during the summer. Track, like he said. Then the off season, work with Coach Puka, give him my receivers, and yeah.
Does he got to run track to get fat? Why track?
All our skills can be running track.
Always fun. Always fun. Braylon, going into Furman, what are your expectations for yourself year one?
Expectations, just be patient, not rush anything. I know we got a big game like early in the season. We play Tennessee, like Vos, so that's going to be a big step up from high school to
what do you mean? I feel like Loudoun County and Tennessee, very similar.
Yeah, I guess, but I just got to be prepared, go in with a straight mind. Just don't try to rush anything. Just know it's kind of like restarting that day one. Like when I first came to Varina, just do all of the little things, make sure I can learn from the older guys that's messing up, and then when I get my opportunity just shine.
And Bull, for you, year one of UVA next year, what are the expectations for yourself, and what are you looking forward to?
Going in there in shape. I can't go out there without being in shape because then I'll just be going lower on the depth chart. First game of the season is in Brazil against North Carolina.
Y'all got some games next season.
So learning the playbook, that's gonna be real special because I'm trying to get on the field early.
And then in Brazil, hey, you could step a foot on the field for the first time in another country.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty crazy.
Yes, sir.
And Jaden, for you, what year are you a senior or junior?
Yeah, I'm a senior.
Senior. What are you looking forward to?
I'm committed to Morgan State right now.
Okay.
But I'll probably end up wherever God takes me, but it's cool.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That'll be a blast next year. Thank you all for coming in, and thank you for letting us do 8 people in here. It was a blast. Congratulations on a state title as well. That is a massive achievement, and we're looking forward to it here at ESPN Richmond to see what you guys are able to do next year. No pressure, no back-to-back. We won't start that talk just yet. That'll be in August, Coach, when we do our previews again. We'll start floating that back-to-back thing, but we'll let you guys celebrate this one.
No, that back-to-back sound good already. But we missed it, so we'll be ready.
All right, y'all, appreciate it so much. We're going to get a break in here, step aside, be back with more Fitz the Bill on this Friday morning. Yesterday, we got the news, 2 coaching hirings. One on the Jets side, defensive coordinator has been named for them. And the Browns decided to go with Todd Monken, the former Ravens offensive coordinator, as their next head coach. And those 2 hires just portrayed the clear divide in the NFL right now between essentially the haves and the have-nots. The haves, the functional franchises, the have-nots, the dysfunctional franchises. It's been on full display this offseason. And yesterday, it showed its face in another way, right? Because you got the Browns deciding to go with Todd Monken after courting Jim Schwartz for about 3 weeks, their defensive coordinator, spurning him, alienating their roster, and going with a first-time head coach at the NFL level. He does have head coaching experience. He was the head coach at Southern Miss for a couple of seasons before joining the offensive coordinator ranks in the NFL and college football with the Georgia Bulldogs, winning 2 national championships with them. But the Browns elect to go with him, and Aaron Glenn spurns Wink Martindale. I don't think that's a guy you want to get on the bad side of after he tried to beat up Brian Daboll a couple of years ago when Daboll notified Martindale that he was moving off of him as well. But let's start with the functional ones, because the proof is sitting right in front of us in Super Bowl 60. We've got 2 extremely functional franchises. Both of them moved off of all-time great head coaches at the end of 2023. New England decided to move on from Bill Belichick. That wasn't a huge shock. The Seattle Seahawks moved on from Pete Carroll in what was a massive shock that sent shock waves through the NFL. 2 pillars, 2 coaching pillars of the modern NFL, both legendary coaches in their own right. And now, in both cases, within 2 years, those franchises are right back on the sport's biggest stage. That's not really luck. I'd argue that's what functional franchises do. That's ownership knowing when to turn the page, and then more specifically, having a plan for when they do. Because having a plan is 99.9% of the battle. You look at Buffalo, an example of extreme dysfunction. The hiring of Joe Brady tells me they never had a plan. They turned the page and they didn't know what was coming next. It was all emotion when they fired Sean McDermott. Then they threw him under the bus, and the entire offensive staff, mind you, if you go back to that Terry Pegula press conference, he not only threw Sean McDermott under the bus with the Keon Coleman draft pick, he threw the entire offensive staff under the bus at that press conference to hype up Brandon Beane. And, you know, it's the same offensive staff that Joe Brady actually headed up. Terry Pegula and the Bills didn't have a plan. They still don't have a plan. And that's why before they hired Sean McDermott, 9-10 years ago, they were one of the more dysfunctional franchises in the NFL. And they've gone right back to their dysfunctional ways. Other dysfunctional franchises we've seen this offseason, the New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns, the Arizona Cardinals, the Las Vegas Raiders, all are absolutely flailing right now. Let's start with the Jets, all right? Aaron Glenn fires his entire staff a couple of weeks after the season ends. So it leads me to a very simple question. If Aaron Glenn, I assume, is being forced by Woody Johnson or Brick Johnson, he's being forced to fire everyone. If everyone's being fired around him, why not just fire him too? Did Aaron Glenn impress them so much in year one that they have that much faith in now the second-year head coach? Or is this just about being cheap? Because it gets a little worse. According to SNY's Connor Hughes, the Jets were in deep discussions with former Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. He was going to be the next defensive coordinator. Him and Aaron Glenn have been in discussions, according to these reports, since about December. And the key part of that conversation was that Wink Martindale was going to call the defensive plays. Hughes said that discussions went far enough that Martindale even began assembling a staff and that it was, quote, a done deal. Then they had a meeting. Martindale thought that meeting was to dot the I's, cross the T's, and in the 11th hour, it seemed Aaron Glenn decided to change the deal. Aaron Glenn wants to be the defensive play caller. Something, per SNY, was never brought up. Martindale ends up leaving, and just like that, the entire agreement falls apart. Dysfunction. Now, the Jets have gone on to hire a new defensive coordinator who will not be in charge of calling the defensive plays. But man, a dysfunctional way to get there. Now you swing over to Cleveland, right? The Browns deserve their own chapter because for weeks it looked obvious that they were promoting Jim Schwartz. According to their own defensive coordinator, right? For weeks it seemed like he was the guy that was to get it. According to inside sources, he was even telling people that he thought he was a lock to get the job. The building believed it. Schwartz believed it. Then they slow played it. They really dragged it out. And ultimately, they go with Todd Monken, an outside hire who was their offensive coordinator back in 2019. Is this a bad hire? No. But a way I like to judge coaching hirings is, does it spark joy in me? No. This does not spark any joy in me. It's a fine hire. It's fine. But you had to alienate your roster to do it. You're going to lose one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. The Browns managed to turn what should have been a clean transition into now unnecessary chaos. And then you got the Cardinals, the Raiders, no coach, no clarity, no urgency, it seems. Maybe the Raiders and the Cardinals are targeting a coach in the Super Bowl still, so they're going to have to wait and see until they are available post-Super Bowl 60. But man, the silence on those coaching fronts is deafening. And this is the difference, where it all boils down to. Functional franchises make hard decisions early and move forward with a plan. Dysfunctional franchises hesitate, overthink, pivot, trip over themselves, do everything wrong in the pursuit of the right answer. And right now, the divide in the NFL isn't subtle. It's drastic. And look no further than the teams that hired coaches yesterday and the two teams that are in the Super Bowl. Welcome back in. Fitz the Bill on this Friday, September 26th morning. I'm Jack Fitzpatrick, Allen alongside, and we are joined now in studio. Will Turner, a Richmond native, the subject of a documentary, Sierra 914, which chronicles a 914-mile triathlon through the Sierra Mountains. Absolutely insane. And we're also joined by the director of the documentary, Ryan Duggar. Thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your Friday morning. I know probably a lot's happening. You premiere the documentary on Sunday at the Richmond International Film Festival, so appreciate you carving out some time to stop by the studios and chat with us.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it.
So, Will, this is a question you've probably been asked 5,000 times, and you probably will be asked it 5,000 more. Why 914 miles, for one? Because we couldn't get 6 more and make it 920 or take 14 off and just make it 900. But also, what sparked that in you that you wanted to do a 914-mile triathlon?
Well, the 914 came from 6.5 Ironmans. You multiply 6.5 by 140.6, and you get 913.9, and you round it up to 914.
What's an extra tenth when you've already done 914?
So I was doing it in commemoration of turning 65. So the 6.5 was connected to the 65 years old, and that's where we came up with it. And as far as how I got here, I ran my first marathon 23 years ago for a friend who had cancer. And marathons became Ironmans, Ironmans became Ultra Ironmans, And here we are 23 years later.
Wow. And it turns into a 914-mile triathlon through the mountains. I think I was reading in the thing, elevation gain throughout that made it probably a lot more difficult than just a traditional 914 miles on a treadmill.
Absolutely. I mean, we were basically at elevation from 6,000 to 9,000 feet throughout the race, but I climbed probably about 40,000 feet on the bike alone. So it definitely tested me.
Ryan, how did you get connected with Will in order to tell his story through the documentary you guys made?
Yeah, I met Will through a mutual friend who owns a racing company who, their company puts on these insane distances. So you're just not your typical Ironman, but multiple Ironmans. And Will is one of the crazy people that do these races. And just seeing these extreme athletes, I mean, I was immediately interested in telling these stories because it's just not only a physical thing they're doing. There's so much mental a process that goes into it. So it really interested me. I met Will, heard that he was doing this crazy distance, and I was like, oh, this is a story. We've got to capture it.
Will, what took you from doing marathons to ultramarathon? Like, what was it in your mind that said, all right, I've conquered the 23.2 miles, and now I want to do the X amount of miles? What got you to kind of progressively increase your running, your swimming, your biking, and everything like that?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a natural progression. I actually, in my first Richmond half marathon, which was when I was about 27 years old, I ended up at Chippenham Hospital with dehydration. My first couple marathons, I failed miserably. I either crossed the finish line or fell short, and I was like, I've got to figure this out. So it became more of a challenge versus having some natural gift or ability. And then just naturally wanting to push myself and figure out how I could get better. I'm not a natural athlete, so I think part of the story is, if I can do it, other people can do it as well.
Something that's kind of the thing that gets the documentary going and kind of the inciting incident, you could say, is it was described as a failure 7 years before. Can you walk me through what that was itself, and at what point during those 7 years that you decided my next achievement is going to be a 914-mile triathlon?
Well, that event that was the failure was a 703-mile race. It was a quintuple Ironman distance. And so I had trained hard for that. It's a long race, obviously, multiple days, sleep deprivation, all that sort of stuff. By the end of the race, my back was totally collapsing on me, and I was just stumbling and getting one foot in front of the other, trying to make it to the cutoff. I ended up at the cutoff being about 6 or 7 miles short of the final out of a 703 miles. And so it was discouraging, to say the least. But I think the biggest thing for me was if I had completed it, as I had hoped to, I would have just chalked it up like, yeah, I got that done, right? And moved on to the next thing. But I didn't get it done. And so that caused a lot of inner reflection and just assessment of what do I have to do to get better? Do I want to get better? All those sorts of things. So I struggled with that and just kind of built through that. That actually led to me, when I turned 60, to decide to do 60 Ironmans the year I turned 60, which actually broke the world record at the time.
You did 60 Ironmans in 1 year?
Yeah.
That seems crazy.
And then I went on.
That's more than one a week, right?
Yeah, one every 6 days.
I was just doing the math. I was like, that is insane.
Yeah. So for turning 60, I did this 60, and then I ended up doing another 45 after that the following year. So 105 in 2 years, which again was breaking world records. And so I kind of started that stage of, okay, what can I do for my next big birthday? So the 914 kind of came out of what's next.
So from starting at the Richmond Half Marathon in your 20s, where it ends in the Chippenham Hospital,
right,
to 60 Ironmans in 1 year, and then 45 more, so 105 in 2 years.
Right.
That's crazy. What was preparation like for you, Will, to get ready for this 900-plus mile journey?
You're training all the time. I mean, I called it my magnificent obsession because you wake up, it's the first thing you think about. Your day centers around how you're going to get your training in and balance it with work and life and all those sorts of things. And then you go to bed thinking about it. So, I mean, it's constantly on your mind. So it just becomes this thing that you work your life around to make sure that you get the training in and are getting mentally prepared. Because it's, I mean, obviously it's physical, but it gets real mental real quickly.
I can imagine. Ryan, you guys followed him throughout the entire journey. What's the preparation like on your side? Because I think I was reading you guys were living in a Sprinter van for the journey of it. Yeah. You're doing a bunch of stuff throughout, which is maybe not as taxing as the 914 miles itself because, you're driving the 914, but still brings its own challenges.
Definitely. I've always said this was the hardest project I worked on because we are a very small crew in a Sprinter van. We're living on the road trying to shoot this. We don't have time to set up shots and get lights and prepare like you normally would. So being on the move this entire time was very challenging. And the sleep deprivation, I mean, we couldn't complain because we're looking at him. But
So you guys have brought up sleep deprivation a couple of times. Did you sleep at all, or is it all one shot?
No, I did sleep.
Okay.
I probably averaged about 3 to 3.5 hours a night over 8 nights.
Oh,
so
it
accumulates over the week.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It would accumulate for me after one night.
Yeah. For us, even when we kind of shut down for the night, well, we've got batteries to get charged. We've got things to pack and unpack and forget about cleaning up and taking care of ourselves. We've got so much gear and things we need to prepare for, a few hours later. So, yeah, it was difficult. It was a challenge, but, we definitely would look at him, and that's all the inspiration we need to keep going. So.
Well, going through the process as kind of this third party, just documenting it, what impressed you the most with what Will was doing?
His ability to take pain and suffering and move it into a place in his mind and still look at you at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning and say, "Hey, good morning. How are you feeling?" And, he's talking to us like this.
How are you feeling?
Yeah. What? How are you? How are you doing that? And you'll see in the film, he's got some superpowers that I think anyone that sees it can get some inspiration from. He pushes himself to a place that is really hard to understand and fathom. He's trained for it. So, yeah, it was just incredible to watch that part and to just see how, how resilient he is.
Will, throughout the process, was there ever a point where you were like, I don't know if I can finish this?
The whole time. Well, the interesting thing is we had planned to do it in the Tetons, and we ended up doing it in the Sierras, and we were going to do it on a much less
a little bit flatter,
flatter course, and all that sort of stuff.
Smart, oh yeah.
With the film permitting, we ended up having to change it last minute. So none of the 40,000 feet of climbing was in my mindset before. So I had to kind of pivot and go, okay, this is not what I signed up for, but it's where we are, and it's going to be epic. So let's make the best of it. So I knew going in, even at the 914 and on a flatter course, I wanted to push my limits, which basically meant that I was going to be on that line regardless. I thought there was a 50% chance that I wouldn't make it and a 50% chance that I would. And that pretty much followed me throughout the journey going, I'm not sure, I feel good right now, but then there'd be valleys later on, like I'm not feeling so good. And you just kind of keep pushing through and you just, are hoping and that you've got what it takes to make it across.
So what you're saying is, because of the documentary, Ryan got you to have to 40,000. So
yes,
you can blame him for
absolutely.
a lot of it.
Yeah, he was mad at me for a while. Yeah.
Throughout the triathlon, so you swim for what was it?
15.6 miles.
And then you bike for over 700.
728, yeah.
And then run for
170.
whatever the remainder is.
Hard to process.
Yeah. What of those three was the most difficult? And what was, I won't ask the easy because they're all difficult.
It ended up being the run.
Really?
And that's in a triathlon, that's normally my strongest suit. Mm-hmm. So I was actually, worried about the swim, longest swim I've ever done. And the swim went amazingly well. I was kind of shocked, but very happy. The bike I was worried about with all the climbing through the mountain passes and the elevation. I've never done that level of biking and that distance before. And so I was worried about that. And that went amazingly well considering what I was doing. And I was just waiting to get on the run because I thought, okay, this is where I'm strong. I'll just, be able to, get this done, right? And my legs had lost all their spring by the time I got to the run. So, just that first morning on the run, I could tell I didn't have it. But then I've got 3 days to run, basically. And I was hoping that the legs would turn around. And there were moments, but mostly it was just my body kind of slowly disintegrating and just keeping one foot in front of the other.
Definitely painful to watch,
yeah,
for sure.
This is a rave review. This is making me want to go out and attempt even just a marathon first.
Hey, there it is. That's the goal.
When you crossed the finish line, when it was over, what emotions overcame you?
The biggest one that kind of hits me even before I cross the finish line is gratitude. And it's because, any journey like this, you don't do alone. You do it with people that are supporting you, people that are either there physically or virtually. And you've got the crew, and I've got my crew out there that have been out there for 8 days solid, just wanting to make sure that they can do anything to support me in the process. And so it's very humbling. And there's a lot of gratitude of knowing that it took a team to make it happen.
And then kind of on the flip side for you, Ryan, what's the feeling when you hit export for the final time on the documentary and it's all finished on your end because your 914-mile journey started when his finished?
Exactly. That's right. It felt good. I mean, I watched it 5,000 times in the editing process. So at some point I'm tired of seeing Will's face. But, it was so great to work on this project. And it inspired me. I mean, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 40 last year. And I was kind of running a little bit. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to run a marathon. And I trained and I did it, during this editing process. So it really did take a hold of me and fire me up. And I did something that, I normally wouldn't do and thought was impossible. And I think that's what people can get out of this film. When I hit export and I started, kind of screening it with some friends and family, it was all the same thing. People wanted to get up and go do something. They wanted to do a little bit more. And that's the exciting part about this film is seeing the impact that, people get from it.
That's awesome. And if people want to watch it on Sunday, they can still go out to the Richmond International Film Festival, and you guys premiere this at the Richmond International Film Festival on Sunday, right?
Yes. At 2 p.m.,
2 p.m.
at Bird Theater.
That's awesome. That's going to be an experience. I look forward to it for you guys. Appreciate you taking some time out of your day to chat with us. Here's to another 914 sometime down the future.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate you having us.
Thank you, guys. We're going to get a quick break in here, step aside, be back with more Fitz the Bill on this Friday morning.